Hey guys, Fixit TV, and I'm coming to you with the questions and answers for this week's from Corepunk. Don't forget that every week our community gets a chance to ask questions towards the devs, and the top 10 upvoted questions are answered by the devs every week. Sometimes a bit more than 10, but this week we have 10. So let's go and have a look at what our community wanted answers to and what they got. Question number 1 for this week: where and how the players will drop upgrade kits in the game. This is a question that troubles a lot of people because right now the way the game is and the lack of drops from bosses and mobs is the only way to upgrade your gear and complete your sets. So people want to know where they can find them. At the moment, the best thing you can do is just go through the vendors, change layers, and try and find them doing this little NPC hunting for the items. So the people want to know how and where they're going to get them. Well, here's the answer from the devs. We have removed them so we can spend some time reviewing how to introduce them back into the game in a more balanced way, as they were being obtained too frequently and trivializing progression. So in the coming weeks, we will add them back in the game. So basically, good luck. We remove them, another item that's been removed along with the drop rates, and when they're ready, they put it back in the game. So whoever upgraded the gear, good for you. The rest of us, good luck. Question number 2. Do you think the servers will be stable and playable for PvP without freezing? What progress have you made? We can't say exactly when the servers will run significantly better, but we can confidently share that improving server performance is our top priority, and we are working on it every single day, as they should. We're identifying weaknesses and addressing them step by step. Some fixes yield great results in performance, while others don't. But our goal is to resolve the majority of server-related issues by the end of January. By then, we aim for players to enjoy a much smoother gaming experience. Right, so this is a pretty generic answer that doesn't really answer anything. First of all, do you think the servers will be stable and playable for PvP without freezing? They can say when the servers will run significantly better. They just say it's our top priority, we're trying to fix it. So far, just a reminder, according to the patch notes, I think it's 6 or 7 maybe, patches have been made to improve performance and have buttery smooth gameplay, but still nothing. Also, identifying weaknesses and doing stuff step by step, some yielding great results and some don't. Pretty much what happens in everything in life, right? You try, it works, it doesn't work, but they don't tell us if the fixes they're doing actually working or not. They're just saying it's their main priority. So far, they haven't answered the question at all. They've just been dodging around it. However, they do plan, and their goal is to solve the majority, not all, but the majority of server-related issues by the end of January. This video is recorded and these answers have a beginning out on the 8th of January. So 23 days to solve that they haven't been able to solve so far in 3 months. I really hope they do, because I really want to jump in the game and play, and especially on PvP. PvE is playable, no problems, but I really want to do some PvP until I bring more stuff out. And if the servers lag the way they are right now, you can play it. So let's see what they're going to do in 23 days. Question number 3. Why add PvP modes prior to PvE dungeons? Everything in the game forces you to PvP. Why do we have to wait 6 months for PvE content? As you know, do a little bit comments as we do the questions and answers, but this time it's time to add a little bit of a commentary on the question itself. Why add PvP modes prior to PvE dungeons? First of all, this has been answered before, and it's pretty much what they have already on the pipeline. Okay, but we'll see the answer further down. Secondly, our friend here says everything in the game forces you to PvP. It is a PvP-centric game, and I want to make these comments here for everybody else that is thinking to play the game to be absolutely clear. This is a PvP-centric game, which means a lot of the stuff are based on PvP. So up to a certain level, you are guarded and protected on safe areas, and then as you level up, from like level 10 or 12, you start going to semi-PvP areas, and then on endgame, a lot of them will be PvP, or at least option to turn your PvP on and contest. Kill the others so you can do the boss, kill them so you can do the dungeon. This is how the endgame is going to be. It's going to be not always 1v1, but groups versus groups, guilds versus groups, controlling territories, fighting on PvP to secure bosses and farming areas. This is a PvP-centric game. The game is not forcing you to PvP, it is what the game is. And I'm doing this long commentary here because I've seen this in some of my streams. People don't get this, that this is a PvP centric game and you will have to venture towards the end game into PvP zones or semi PvP zones, and people will just kill you for killing you. It's, you know, keep that in mind when you come into this. Example of such game, Albion. After tier 3 maps, you go higher, it's always PvP. So this is something that's going to be in the game, and the game is not forcing you. It is the type of game you chose to play. Now, as far as why do I have to wait for 6 months for PvE content? Well, let's say the answer, because I don't even know if it's going to be any PvE content in 6 months or less or whatever. So to this large question, and closing my little commentary there, the dev said, there is a misconception that the game at the moment is heavily focuses on PvP. While it may feel that way, this is not the case. The only true PvP zone in the game is the King's Battleground. PvP is available in other locations, but it isn't the primary focus of the gameplay there. In fact, most content in the game right now is PvE orientated, which is correct. All crafting and farming are accessible without engaging in PvP. This is questionable. The only competitive content currently is contesting open world bosses. Also not true, because you're also contesting when you farm skulls in on PvP areas, farming skulls for gold to buy the kits and bosses. So there's two, and not just the bosses. We'll fully evaluate the PvP dynamics once the game becomes smoother. Going back to the previous questions, let's see when that's going to be. And PvP becomes more viable. We've mentioned this multiple times already. The new extraction dungeon is not purely PvP content, which is why it's called a PvE PvP dungeon. If I'm not mistaken, it used to be a PvP PvE instance. Now we switched the PvP with PvE, you know, inverted that. I really want to see how that's going to work, because it's meant to be a full loot PvE PvP dungeon. I wonder if a group wants to PvP, how the other one that doesn't is going to be engaging. And I don't know. I don't get this concept. Sorry, I just don't get the concept of that. This mode will allow players to play without engaging in PvP, offering it as just one of the several strategies. Additionally, the dungeon itself has zones suited for different gear levels. Some areas can be tackled with tier 2 gear, others are optimal with tier 2 improved or tier 3, while certain content will demand serious upgraded tier 3 gear and strong coordination. Now for this, I would like to remind people, we've done this on a previous video, that this full loot PvE, PvP dungeon as they call it, apparently you can choose not to PvP. Okay. However, if you die by PvP, you drop all your loot and everything you carry, including your gear. If you die from a mob PvE content, you also drop your entire inventory and everything you're wearing, every single piece of gear. So be aware, if you want to try this when it comes out, go with some cheap gear first, see what's up, and then decide if you want to go with higher tier gear and take the risk of losing everything you're wearing. Now, I'll say again, I don't understand the concept of that, because if one side has 12 people that want to PvP and the other side has 12 people that don't want to PvP, that just want to do PvE, I'm not sure how this strategy is going to work, because the other guy's going to hunt them down. I really want to see the concept. I'm intrigued to see if something like this can actually work. Bottom line for this question is that they're not pushing PvP on purpose, but because this extraction dungeon and battlegrounds were nearly complete in terms of content. Basically, this is what they have to give out right now, and that's what we're getting first. That's it. And on the other hand, just to be fair, as they say themselves, that if they had released a PvE focused dungeon first, would they be facing the opposite question? Why are you doing PvE dungeons before PvP? Let's be honest. I mean, you can't please everybody. So they have a plan, they have a schedule, and that's giving us the most complete content they have. Now, whether it should be more or less, or, you know, more mix of things, that's a different question. But this is what we're going to get. Question number 4. Drop rate for rare resources are still low. The time to get 1 tier 3 from regathering in comparison to farming mobs is out of balance. Make crafting and gathering more viable. We are actively working on balancing all aspects of the game, including crafting and resource gathering. Some changes require time to ensure they are done correctly. By the end of the month, we aim to refine and improve the overall game balance. The question is pretty true, and it wasn't really stated as a question, but the thing is, low drop rates, what are you going to do about it? Because getting tier 3 materials is a lot faster, killing mini bosses and farming them as a group, than actually going and mining, for example. Again, the answer is we need time, end of the month. We aim to refine and improve the overall game balance. Second time, they're referring to the end of the month of January. And also, an important word is aim to refine, not we are refining. So it's still a maybe. All the questions have that maybe in there. Let's hope at the end of the month we'll get the game balance fixed, the drop rates fixed, and the PvP and the lag fixed. Next question, when will the transport system be released? Trains as a content feature were developed years ago. However, as a transportation system, they will be introduced closer to the game's full release. In the meantime, a bit later, we plan to add a taxi system to transport players to various locations in the game world. Great news. Excellent news, I would say, because one of the things I really loved in the original trailers when I've seen the characters / heroes jumping on a train to go somewhere from a train station. However, I do have a huge question on this, like a very big question. If as content feature were developed years ago, why is such a system not introduced already in the alphas in order to be tested and see how things work, how it affects the world, if people can jump on it, fall off it, can be shot and turn the PvP on when it goes through PvP zones, all those kind of things. If something has been developed so many years, why is not in there being tested? But as a question, because that was a question I had as well, it's great to know that at least theoretically, closer to the game's full release, that's 11 months from now, more or less, we'll have a transport system and a taxi system before that. Moving on to the next question. Client-side saving makes it easy to use cheat engines, especially with no anti-cheat in place. Will that be changed? Before we move on, just say I have no idea about this technical stuff, but the dev said this is not true. It is not how it works in games. Our game has never stored items on the client side. Any changes players make on the client only affect visual representation. They have no impact on stats or gameplay on the live server, since all items are stored server side. Like I said, not my field of expertise. Don't know what to say about this, but if they say this is how it works, I suppose this is how it works. This next question, I found it a little bit weird, let's say, but here it is. How many people are making decisions in Artificial Core? Other games make polls about how to deal with game issues. Will you interact with the community in this manner in the future? We are in constant communication with members of our community, from casual players to hardcore ones, both as individuals and as part of larger player groups. We avoid diving too deeply into game development discussions, but it's important to note that much of what players imagine about how decisions are made inside a studio doesn't align with reality. Every decision, mechanic, or system has years of context behind it. Its development team follows a unique evolutionary path, one that doesn't replicate any other company's journey. What works for one team might not work for another. If it were possible to create a unique and engaging game purely by voting or consensus, large corporate studios would release hit after hit. The truth is, no one can guarantee a successful game formula. Even as developers, we don't know 100% what our game will look like at full release. Player feedback and live gameplay heavily influence that trajectory. While main developers project confidence about the future, the reality is that we all adapt based on live server performance and how players engage with the game. Conceptual vision is the most important element, and if you revisit our first announcement trailer, you will see that our conceptual direction has remained nearly unchanged. However, this doesn't mean our views or the game itself shouldn't evolve. Player feedback is vital, as is our vision. Together, these perspectives allow the game to grow and improve. A lengthy answer to a question. First of all, they haven't answered how many people making decisions on Artificial Core, but I suppose no one can answer that. It could be 1, 10, 20. The person possibly has a valid question because some of the stuff that they do on patches and upgrades, it feels like is one person making a decision rather than that. On the other hand, I agree with them that every company is different, but making polls about issues is not the way to go because you are not making the game, the community is making the game, and you are the developer, you have a vision, you have to stick with it and then take feedback to improve that a little bit, to improve it, not to change it to what other people want. And if they keep doing polls, one week is going to go in one direction, the next week in a different direction, and then we have no direction. So I really don't like the whole poll thingy like that. Every company is different, they're doing it a different way, that is true. Also, definitely they don't know how the end product is going to be with all the feedback they're getting. But my main question comes to the first part of this answer, where it says that they are in constant communication with casual and hardcore players, both as individuals and part of larger player groups. Who are these people? I mean, do they talk with a specific guild in the game, or do they have their own friends playing the game? This next question is also a technical question, so here goes. Why use TCP and not UDP like other MOBAs, which provides lower latency and faster packet transmission compared to TCP? While Corepunk may share some gameplay elements with MOBAs, it's an entirely different product with a vastly higher level of technical and gameplay complexity. MMORPGs are often regarded as the most technically challenged products in the world, not just in gaming, but across all industries. The complexity, scale of decisions, and sheer volume of tasks far exceed other genres, not to mention the challenge of integrating everything into a cohesive system. Many world-class experts and companies specializing in server solutions have attempted to assist us, but none were able to take us a step further. Corepunk is a true open-world game with no loading screens, a remarkable technical achievement. However, as the saying goes, everyone's an expert until things break. We've built this game ourselves, and now it's just about polishing it further. Like I said, I don't know about this TCP, UDP kind of situation. It's not my field of expertise. But if they build it themselves and they want to do it themselves, and apparently there's no one in the world that can help them, God help us on getting a functional, lag-free, smooth, butter-smooth game in the near future. People are changing layers to kill bosses, fight vendors, etc. Do you consider this to be problematic? Are you going to fix this anytime soon? Yes, of course we are aware of this, and we have no issue with the bosses. No problem doing that. Dev seems to be okay with us jumping killing bosses. However, we don't like that players are jumping between NPCs from layer to layer, and we'll be disabling this option soon. So whoever is looking for kits or special items on the vendor, be ready, it's going away. I think that's just going to increase the layer jumping for a little bit. And we made it to the last question for this week. Question number 10. Why you make the game easy? HP, MB, regeneration, quest trackers, minus 30% HP reduction. What's next? Autopathing? You said this would be different and stick to your character. That was the question. And the answer from devs is, while some players claim the game is too easy, we also receive daily feedback saying it's incredibly challenging. Striking the right balance is an ongoing process, and we rely on observing players' behavior under different conditions. Initially, we planned for very challenging content. However, based on alpha feedback, we adjusted our approach. This iterative process is crucial to understanding what's too hard and what's too easy. We've made mistakes and we undoubtedly make more, but we are not afraid of failure. In fact, embracing our failures and learning from them is what allows us to grow and improve. Despite challenges and criticism, we're optimistic about the game's future. Seeing a growing community of players who love the game's atmosphere and ideas inspire us. A single positive message from a player can outweigh hundreds of negative ones. We're confident that we'll create a great game, and adjusting numbers here and there is the easy part. Right, so I have to agree a little bit with our friend here on the question, and just want to say this about this whole question and answer that we've seen here. The thing I want to say is to the devs, and maybe even some people, is that do not mistake something that is difficult because of lack of skill, because of lack of patience. There is a difference between something is very difficult and needs to become easier, and there is a difference between, oh, I can one-shot this, or it takes more than 10 seconds to kill this, therefore the game is difficult. Oh, I can't find where the quest is, the game is difficult. Some things require a little bit of skill, a little bit of kiting, better gear. Some things require you to be more patient, look more carefully. Let's not mistake those for difficulty. This is just lack of player skill or commitment or patience. That's all I'm going to say, because personally, playing the game since Alpha 4, I didn't have any problems with the HP of the mobs. I didn't have any problem with the mana regeneration. I did not require a quest tracker. I spent a lot of hours exploring and found what I needed, asked some help here and there. I don't think any of those changes were necessary. I just think people were very used in modern gameplay and they just wanted it easy. Just log in, tell me what the quest is, I'll go and pick it up, level up, and when I get to the end, I'll ask the question, now what? Well, that's the whole point of doing the journey and leveling up, figuring out what you do at the end game. If you haven't figured that out because you move too fast, well, perhaps you need to consider playing a different game instead of crying all the time and changing a great game and making it like every other game on the market. That's all I had to say. These are the 10 questions for this week. I hope you guys found them interesting, both the questions and the answers. If you want to place your own questions to the devs, don't forget, join the official Corepunk Discord. There is a space every week for people to ask the question. The top 10 upvoted ones will be answered by the devs. I hope you like this video, and as always, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. And of course, as always, more than happy to see you in one of our live streams on Twitch and YouTube to chat live, play, have some fun. So until the next time, take care.